Good morning, League of Legends. Today I want to talk about a few things, notably, and this might shock some of you, top lane. Yes, I want to talk about top lane. Basically, I have a few complaints about top lane that I don't think are being heard by Riot lately. Let me just go through a couple of them. Number one, vertical jungle blows dick. Vertical jungle, let me explain that. That's when you do a buff, maybe a camp, go to scuttler, and then you do the opponent's slice of the jungle. So you do vertical rather than horizontal. Everybody got that? That means that your jungler will never be near your lane till about level 5 to 6, whereas their jungler will constantly be 10 to 15 seconds off your lane for the entire first 4 levels of the game. This means that you have to ward your brush at level 1, but the ward will die, giving them a gap at level 3 to 4 to gank you. That's if the ward could stop them at all. That means you can't try to play aggressive, you can't trade, you can't go for kills, you can't do anything. And that's all because your jungler decided to stay on another part of the map, and their jungler decided to stay on your side of the map. The nerfs to jungle did not make jungle more interesting or exciting. It did not make top lane more interesting or exciting. You did not make top lane better. You made jungle shittier. Another thing I want to talk about. So we've seen the nerfs to Jax, and I'm frustrated by that because Riot hasn't actually done anything to fix the issues between high and low skill play. At high skill play, we've seen time and time again that Jax will be countered, bullied, dove, overall beaten in lane. But at low ranks, where people try to play, Garen, Darius, actual melee champions, that Jax can't really, or I should say he can dominate the game very easily. This is called the Counterpick meta. Now, the problem with the Counterpick meta is that it's very prevalent at high elo, but not at low elo. And Riot has done nothing to fix any of the vast counterpicks and imbalances in the game that have started occurring, really. Let me explain to you what I mean. Things like Kennen, things like Jace, things like, I don't even know, Cassiopeia to a later regard. They don't ever get nerfed. They don't ever get fixed. They just kind of sit there forever being a counter to certain champions that just disable them from ever seeing competitive play. Riot has never talked about that. Riot has never done anything about that. That just seems to be a reality of the game. And it isn't a very fun reality. So that's all I'm going to say about that. The third point I want to make is imbalances in top lane tend to be much worse because you tend to run a 1v1 snowball lane where often both teams will ignore it. And the problem with this is that when you have a champion like Viktor, let me explain the difference here. When Lucian is overpowered and bullies people in the laning phase, you still have a 2v2. You still have a game going on. But when Viktor is overpowered, it's 1v1. It's Viktor smashing you over and over again. Nothing you can really do about it. Balance and patches for top lane have to be done quicker. This means that you cannot sit Viktor for a full month in top lane and just say, it's preseason! Hotfix shit like that. Don't leave champions like Jace an entire year and say, well, no one's picking the champions he beats, so it's not really a big issue for competitive play. Don't allow champions like Kennen to just beat every melee champion in the game forever and just kind of be like, well, hope nobody picks him or fuck you. This is kind of what I was talking about last year, especially when I was on that Cutie Pie and Scar show, is that Riot tends to try to push champions up to a 50% win rate without really caring what happens after that. So they buff Kennen and they go, he's near a 50% win rate. Good. But how is he getting to that 50% win rate? Is it by beating Sion? No. Is it by beating Urgot? No. It's because every single time someone picks a bruiser, someone picks Kennen and trashes them. That's not very fun or interesting. Similarly, when you look at champions like Riven, I think Riven is the only champion in League of Legends history that Riven mains have never failed to sit in Challenger. If Singed gets nerfed, we see the Singed mains fall out of Challenger. If Jax gets nerfed, we see the Jax mains fall out of Challenger. We saw that the last 2 years, actually. But what happens to the Riven mains? She gets buffed every time she's not the dominant top lane melee pick, but she has been and always will be. And now with Shield Bash, you know, you always see, I'm not going to go into it. It's just one of those things that Riot never addresses. It's these zero counterplay, zero real skill matchups where you're really more relying on your opponent being bad than you are being good. How do you counter Riven? Well, you can't. How do you counter Kennen? Well, you can't. How do you counter Jace? Well, you can't. How do you counter Viktor? Well, you can't. So all you're doing is relying on them being stupid so you can see an opening and abuse them. But what if they're not? You just don't get to play the game. And that's why all these points combined lead to why we see the top lane play rate over time going down. This is why we see top lane and AD carries have the biggest struggle getting into high ranks in Challenger. And we see that across all regions, actually. I mean, I think it's saying something when supports are currently doing better than your average bot or top player. You can only compensate a class so many seasons before you're just buffing a top tier, or I shouldn't say class, role. And I want to go into that. That's actually something that's frustrated me too, is that people call top lane a role when it is a role, but to call top lane overpowered just feels weird to me. You call top lane overpowered. Unlike bot lane, where they tend to build the same items, or mid lane, where they tend to build the same items, or jungle, where they literally only have 3 items to shuffle through. Top lane is very, very, very diverse. At any given moment, it could be juggernauts on top, mages on top, ranged AD champions on top. It could be assassins are on top, bruisers are on top. But which bruisers are on top? Are we talking the Trinity, Sterix, Titanic ones? Or are we talking the Trinity, Sterix, full tank ones? Or are we talking, you know, and even amongst those, are we talking, you know, Titanic Hydra or Ravenous Hydra? Are we, you know, so when you say top lane is overpowered, it's much different. When AD carries are overpowered, it tends to be AD carry items are overpowered. When top lane is overpowered, you're not talking about literally anyone who goes top lane. You're more so talking about like this champion with these items are overpowered. When you say mages are overpowered, you can generally point to a few items like Void Staff, Death Cap being overbuffed. You can point to Archangels and Ludens being overbuffed. You can look to Magic Resist being too low, Magic Pen being too high. You can point to the fact that Sorc Shoes was buffed to 15, from 15 to 18, and was never reverted, despite the fact that they never went back and looked at MR itemization. They, you know, but on top lane, it's like top lane's overpowered. What? I mean, first off, just look at the fucking data. No. I mean, people always point to short periods where top lane does well. It'll always be like, if you look at this Snapchat of this hour of this day, you can see there's a lot of top laners. But, I mean, when you look at it overall, I mean, even on streamers, this is what frustrates me. How do you look at top lane streamers? There's a lot of them, actually, but they don't get many views because, realistically, the lane actually sucks to watch. How many people have been on my stream, and how many streams where I have where it's just, oh, top lane's being camped again, the jungler refuses to help top again, you're being counterpicked again. You know, any of these things can happen, and it's not, you've got so little control over your own, I mean, let's be honest, you've got so little control over your own content, over your own stream, really. So, I just wanted to finally put out a video here. I might do more of a series later at some point. I don't know. Basically, I believe top lane is once again in a shitty spot. I believe Riot's refusal to hotfix champions like Viktor has once again shown that there's no top laners on the live design team who truly give a shit about the game. And I feel like once again, I'm kind of the only person out there who ever says anything about this. So, You know, it's like, yeah, it's like sometimes I just feel like, you know, the fucking old guy. You know, I'm 29 now, for God's sake. And it's like every season I see this shit happening, and it's like, anyone else want to get this? Anyone else? No? No other top laner is going to get this? It's got to be me again? So I go in my closet and I take out my streamer suit and I take out my fucking camera to make videos, and I'm like, all right, guess it's got to be me again. I mean, look at it this way. I mean, I want to talk about this for a second. How many people, honest to God, let me ask you this question. How many people could get a video to the front page no matter what they do? How many people could get a video to 50 to 100,000 views no matter what they do? And how many of those people that do that do not abuse that and do not put videos on the front page constantly? Because I don't. I only do it in a necessity. I'm not trying to bend the meta. You know, I'm not. I'm just trying to say, like, hey guys, a voice has to be heard. And more to the point, let me actually put it this way. When people say Hashinshin ruined AD carries, go back and look at my videos. My suggestions were like, hey, let's raise the cost of their items by 200 and maybe reduce the attack speed a little bit. Those are my suggestions, okay? All this shit Riot did, like, it was interesting, it was neat, but I feel, well, I'm not even going to get into that, okay? So blaming me for that is asinine. You guys are being dicks, okay? So go fuck yourself on that one. I didn't do that. Yeah, you can't say, don't listen to Hashinshin, but then every time they make a change, you go, well, damn it, you listened to Hashinshin, when they didn't actually listen to me. You know, I can't both at the same times be an idiot who gets nothing done and yet also be an all-encompassing force of evil who every action is I'm responsible for. So there's 12 minutes. There's my video. I'm done. Hope this good scene, okay?